Hello, I'm John Tomlinson. This ring with Kupfer and Barenboim was the highlight, I think, of my working life between 87 and 92, which continued in Berlin into the 90s. I welcome you to it, and I hope you enjoy it. It all started, I suppose, in 86, when I think Daniel was looking for a bass for Wotan, and I think preferably a new bass, somebody new to the role. And he'd heard about me, and he phoned up, and I said, "Oh, you know, I do the bass parts. You know, I do the Hagens, I do the Hundings. You need James Morris, you know, somebody like that. He's very good, I've heard, you know." And he said, "Oh, no, let's, have a look at something and come and sing for me." You know, a conductor like Daniel, of this immense ability and experience, coming to this immense piece for the first time, was exciting. And quite a lot of the cast were in the same positions. Siegfried Jerusalem was doing Siegfried for the first time. It was my first Wotan. I think Graham Clark was I think it was possibly his second mime. Günther von Kannen, I think, was the first time he had done Alberich. So there were a lot of, as I say, extremely gifted people coming to this piece for the first time. And so the great advantage of that is that it's a process of discovery, so that everybody's working together and discovering this fantastic piece, which is very exciting. I think the thing that struck me in 87 with those early rehearsals was the extremity of the part that was being demanded by both Barenboim and Kupfer. I had prepared the role, I was singing it nicely, I'd learnt it precisely, I felt it was a noble part, I felt, many beautiful things about it, but they very much went in the direction of extremity, that Wotan was alternately ecstatic with an incredibly exuberant ecstasy, and then was depressed with a black, total depression, as only gods can. It's based on an ancient mythology, based on the ancient gods. It is reformed by Wagner to this musical tetralogy, which has got a completeness all of its own. Wagner adjusted the myths to fit his new myth, so to say. But it's dealing with humanity and civilization.
The Kupfer production of the Ring is not limited to a certain time or to a certain zeitgeist. In many ways, he wanted to do it in a way that is timeless. Very easy to say, very difficult to do. But I think that there are already certain aspects of it which have shown that it looked to the future. I mean, the end of the Götterdämmerung, with everybody watching the disaster of the world on television, was long before the 11th of September, and this is exactly what happened. So in many ways, it was prophetic.
These great myths are an expression of the human condition, aren't they, anyway? And also gods have been created by men. The images of gods have been created by men's imagination. Whether or not there is God and what that God is like, we cannot possibly understand. But the images we have made of God are man-made. Wotan was worshipped by millions of people over hundreds of years and existed. He actually existed in people's beliefs and in people's minds. But of course, a god's existence is very fragile. If people stop believing, he doesn't exist anymore. And that's the fragility of a god. And the Wotan's fragility is that he sets the laws, he has great power to enforce the laws, but if he himself deviates from the law, he loses credibility, and that's the beginning of the end. He signed his own death warrant. And so with the great potency is an impotence, and that's the main, in a way, that is the main theme of Wotan in the Ring, that he has made mistakes, he finds himself painted into a corner, and he cannot get himself out of it, and so he creates other people to rescue the world by winning the ring and returning it to the Rhine to solve all the problems.
The important aspect of Bayreuth is that it gives us again the sense of importance of the ear. We are in our civilization so concerned with the eye. The orchestra is invisible in Bayreuth. The pit is covered. So the magic starts, I think, for the listener when the first note comes, because you don't see the conductor coming onto the pit. There's no applause. The lights go off, and then you wait, and suddenly the sound comes from somewhere, and you don't really know from where because you don't see anything.
It's a fantastic acoustic for Wagner's music, and that building was built by Richard Wagner for his operas and for his music, and therefore it stands to reason that it will be perfect for those works, and it is. When you're in the auditorium, the sound you hear is just perfect for that music.
And then, of course, there is a complete and utter fusion in the sound between the singers on stage and the orchestra and the pit, like in no other opera house, because the fact that the pit is covered means that the sound goes from the pit to the stage. The singers sing, as it were, in it, and as a listener, you get the sound already mixed.
Now, on the stage, when you're performing, it's not quite so easy. You hear a lot of orchestra, and the temptation is there to give too much voice, because you hear a lot of orchestra and you think you have to compete with it. But of course, the voices from the stage, as you well know from your visits to Bayreuth, the voices from the stage come over incredibly easily and well.
es Weib aus heimischer Tiefe tauche zur Höhe, dein Weglied sing ich, dass du erwachest aus Sinnen klar.